nearly an hour, you've heard about radiation in the Texas water supply.
What's that doing to the people drinking it?
Concerns of scientists.
I don't think I've ever seen it to the extent like there is in Texas.
And how officials misled the public.
EPA told you, don't subtract from margin of error. Did you skip that part?
It doesn't say not to subtract.
And our reporting has brought reactions.
This is really disturbing.
Remember Municipal Utility District number 105? Their wells had alpha radiation scores over the legal limit.
Does that concern you?
Any issues of public health do concern me.
Well, the district has now shut down all of their wells and is currently piping in their customers' drinking water from neighboring communities.
In my opinion, we're now at the crossroads.
And then there's Brady, Texas, where they recently had a town hall meeting to talk about their radium problem. The TCEQ was supposed to be there.
And this is the entity that's supposed to be having our safety at the primary purpose of their existence. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But agency officials never showed up. We did.
Thank you, KHOA, for helping bring this very important issue.
I think it's you, KHOU.
And we were also at this meeting in the Houston neighborhood of Chasewood.
Someone at the Public Works Department knew about it.
Where we'd uncovered water wells testing over the limit for radiation.
We're not here to embarrass you. We just need some honest, reliable data.
Right.
And residents demanded answers from their mayor.
I can't tell you that it harmed you. I can't tell you that it didn't harm you.
Leading to wells being shut down and permanently sealed.
No one is drinking any water from the Chasewood well now.
But in a way, it was the mayor's office that had the strongest response to our investigation.
See, here's the deal. We've given you information, and right now, you're lying. You're lying.
Remember this encounter at City Hall?
What are we lying about?
You're lying about radiation in the water.
There's no radiation in the water?
What water are you talking about? What are you referring to?
Well, after that...
I need to get the counsel. I got to get the counsel. I got to do my
And you'll
job.
speak with us after counsel.
Sure.
But as we waited for him, the police arrived.
The mayor's staff has asked you to leave, and we are now going to leave the lobby. Okay?
I've been instructed by my boss that if the police were to come and try to remove us from a public setting, for me not to leave.
Then came the mayor's press secretary.
Just like, no, we're not turning it off in seconds. We would just like to ask you, you've asked the police to have us leave. Like, why is the mayor's staff asking the media to leave?
Let's go.
And why is the media?
But as our investigation continued, first came a phone call to KHOU's president from Mayor Annise Parker herself, complaining and asking, where is this all going? But in this letter to the mayor, the president stood behind our work. Then this public TV station invited us on their talk show. The subject, our reporting on water. But according to the show's host, the mayor's office pressured them to cancel our appearance. And in the end, that's exactly what happened, and the show never aired. And when the Citizens Environmental Coalition of Houston announced 11 News as a guest speaker, soon after, they say, the mayor's office called up and was, quote, very upset. And when the coalition offered the city equal time at their forum, the city eventually declined. But the city had another response to our broadcasts.
We are still way below any level that would cause health effects.
She's Dr. Margaret Kripke, skin cancer expert, well-known scientist, and the chair of the Mayor's Council on Health and Environment.
So the levels are actually very low.
Reassuring those Chasewood residents last February about their drinking water.
Most recently, I spent 25 years at MD Anderson Cancer Center.
Something she does for all Houstonians in this interview on the city's website. For example, listen to what she says about the city's alpha contamination.
I've talked to some university professors who are experts in alpha radiation, and the experts that I've spoken to and also the reports that I've read from the National Academy of Sciences and other places, the experts agree that at these low levels of alpha radiation, there is not a risk of developing cancer from that radiation by itself.
But Kripke has publicly admitted that she is not a radiation expert. So we decided to check with one.
She was quite definitive about there being no risk.
Yes.
Once again, Dr. Arjun Makajani.
And you say, that's wrong.
I'm quite definitive also.
In fact, all of the experts we consulted with told us
And the best evidence is that even at low levels, there is a low cancer risk.
Even at low levels.
Yes, even at the levels that you find in Houston drinking water.
But Dr. Kripke is saying quite definitively that the experts agree that there is no risk at these levels.
I don't know which expert she talked to. She referred to the National Academy study, and I have read those studies, and I know what they say. And you should ask Dr. Kripke whether she remembered what's in those studies when she made that statement, because her representation of those studies is wrong.
But what really surprised this former EPA advisor was this statement.
Radium is known to cause cancer, cancer of the bones, cancer of the blood cells, or leukemia. But this is in doses that are much, much higher, hundreds of thousands of times higher than what's in the drinking water in a place like the city of Houston.
Makajani says as it's presented, this statement could lead the public into thinking lower levels of contamination are not a risk.
That's how I interpret it, that at low levels, there's no risk, and you don't get to the point of worrying till you have hundreds of thousands of times. That's a pretty extreme level of risk that she's saying that you should begin worrying.
In fact, to make his point, he did a calculation and found
if there were hundreds of thousands of times of radium in the water supply compared to what there is now, pretty much everybody would get cancer.
Everybody would get cancer?
Yeah, that's what the data indicate, yes.
What do you mean by everybody?
Everybody who drank that water routinely would get cancer. That's how extreme a statement she has made.
And he adds,
I think we should begin worrying at much, much lower levels.
Now, we asked the mayor's office for comment about what you just saw, but we never received an answer. However, that public TV station we mentioned, KUHT-TV, well, they told us that we were disinvited to their show on Houston's water because city officials would not appear on it if we were there. They also say the program was then taped at their studio, but never aired.
And Dr. Margaret Kripke chose to respond to us in writing, saying that her critic, Dr. Arjun Makajani, is an acknowledged expert, and that she doesn't disagree with his statements. And she agreed that even low amounts of alpha radiation can pose a risk for cancer, but in her opinion, it's an extremely small risk and unlikely to cause a problem. And that in retrospect, she says, she would have preferred saying it that way instead of claiming that the alpha exposure in Houston's water was, quote, not a risk. And she writes that hundreds of thousands of times the radium in Houston's water clearly causes cancer, and she claims that I certainly did not imply that there is no risk for a negative outcome below those levels.
Thanks for being with us in our attempt to give you a comprehensive look at this important subject.
And for more information, please go to our website at khou.com, where you can look up the radiation test results for any water utility in the state.
And you'll also find which home water filters can remove radiation contamination, and even an instructional video we've made on how to install them. From all of us at KHOU 11 News,
thank you for watching, and good night.